Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Kayce's Yellowstone spinoff will reveal the future of the Duttons' next generation. Kayce Dutton will lead an upcoming Yellowstone spinoff, revealing the fate of the Dutton family. Yellowstone's ending saw the rivalry between Beth and Jamie Dutton finally come to an end, following John Dutton's death. The Yellowstone Ranch was sold to Thomas Rainwater to be preserved for generations to come, sending the remaining members of the Dutton family on separate paths. Beth and Rip will have their own sequel spin-off series on Paramount+, with Kayce Dutton's spin-off, Why? Marshals, airing on CBS as a procedural western. Hopefully, it will continue to explore the broader franchise story. Taylor Sheridan, the creator and writer behind the vast majority of Yellowstone and its spin-offs, is developing multiple sequels and another prequel following the end of Yellowstone and 1923. These include the Beth/Rip series, a series centered around the 6666 Ranch in Texas, 1944, and the Madison, the last of which is the furthest along in development. That means 4 TV shows set in the present day, following the sale of the Dutton Ranch, though Kayce's spin-off will be the closest to home, given that his house was a part of the original land. One of the most fascinating scenes in Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2, saw Kayce Dutton speak to Tate about the ranch's future. Kayce offered to fight for the ranch if his son wanted it, explaining that he had no personal ambition, pride, or desire to hold that land. In a moment of profound maturity demonstrated by Tate, the teenage boy explained that he shared his father's temperament and had no wish to fulfill the family legacy, spending his life fighting tooth and nail to protect the valley. Tate suffered through multiple kidnappings and was a witness to several violent events during the course of Yellowstone's run. He's experienced more than any child should, and this will undoubtedly affect how he develops into a young man during the new sequel series. Fatherhood will have to remain a prominent piece of Kayce's life, and this is the most fascinating element of the show, as it ties to the central themes of Sheridan's franchise, exploring how the American dream the Duttons once sought has been passed down through generations. On the Dutton family tree, at least beginning with 1883's James Dutton, Tate is a 6th-generation member of his family. From James to Spencer to John to John IV, the Dutton legacy has been a crucial factor in the lives of the family patriarchs. Each man was brought up with the sole purpose of defending that land, hoping to protect that dream. Kevin Costner's John Dutton IV claimed he protected the ranch to preserve the natural land fur, but it was also evidently attached to his personal pride, and he was willing to commit acts of evil to maintain power. The Duttons have been raised to demonstrate outward strength, and while Kayce is undoubtedly strong, he is so in a more reserved, kind-natured sense. Tate takes after his father, making him the first male in the Dutton line to be raised away from the cycle that brought many of his ancestors and countless others to untimely deaths. In terms of the broader scope of what the Yellowstone franchise is all about, it's on Tate's shoulders to redefine what it means to be a Dutton in the modern era. The Dutton men have been defined by strength for multiple generations, and while Tate can continue to preserve his family's legacy, he can do so in a more modern way. Rather than being bullheaded or violent, Tate can demonstrate what it means to be strong and respected through other means. If his childhood has taught him anything, it's that the way the Duttons have lived for generations of Yellowstone shows has led to almost nothing but pain. Saga has always been about legacy, a sprawling, violent, and often tragic story etched into the land as much as the people who fight to keep it. As the final chapters of the original Yellowstone series unfold, all eyes are turning to what's next. And what's next, undoubtedly, begins with Kayce Dutton. As the spiritual and moral compass of the Dutton family, Kayce has walked between worlds, from the military battlefield to the spiritual visions of a Native American sweat lodge. He's a man who's never fully belonged to any single world, And perhaps that's why his story is the one best suited to carry the legacy forward. A Kayce Dutton-led spinoff isn't just inevitable, it's essential. And it promises to give audiences a raw, emotional glimpse into what comes after the storm. The rebirth of the Yellowstone Empire, or its final reckoning. A new generation, a new Yellowstone. The spinoff, still unnamed but tentatively referred to by fans as Yellowstone. Legacy will center around Kayce, his wife Monica, and their son Tate. The first hints suggest it will take place several years after the events of the original series, once the dust has settled from the Duttons' most recent and possibly final land war. But peace doesn't mean stillness. Montana is changing. Developers, politicians, and outsiders are still circling the Dutton land like wolves in the snow. Kayce, now weathered by years of conflict and personal loss, has become a quieter, more calculated version of his former self. No longer impulsive, no longer reactionary, Kayce is a father first, a rancher second, and a warrior only when necessary. Tate, now a teenager, is poised to be the series' emotional heart. Haunted by the trauma of being kidnapped and growing up in a house filled with scars, both visible and invisible, Tate wrestles with what it means to be a Dutton. Does the land own him, or can he make it into something new? Visions of the future. One of the most tantalizing aspects of the original Yellowstone series was Kayce's vision quest. "I saw the end of us," he whispered cryptically to Monica after emerging from the sweat lodge. Fans have speculated endlessly about what this meant. In the spinoff, those visions will return, not just as flashbacks, but as a spiritual thread guiding Kayce's actions. In Yellowstone Legacy, Kayce will be forced to reckon with those visions. Were they prophecies of doom or warnings to be heeded? As Kayce begins to mentor young Tate in the ways of the ranch and the wild, he will be torn between preserving the traditions of the past and forging a new path for the future. In many ways, the spinoff will be a story of generational healing, or, at the very least, a confrontation with generational pain. New faces, old land. The show will introduce new players, some friends, some threats. A young tribal leader named Ava Rainwater, fiercely protective of her people's land and legacy, will challenge Tate's understanding of his dual identity. Is he just a Dutton or something more? The two will form a complicated friendship that mirrors Kayce's own early relationship with Monica, torn between love and responsibility. On the other side, a corporate ranching conglomerate, led by a charismatic but ruthless CEO with roots in Texas oil money, will be buying up surrounding land. Their stated goal is to create a modern ranching utopia, but their methods are less than pure. Kayce finds himself at the center of a new kind of war, one not fought with guns and cattle, but with contracts, data, and media manipulation. Rip Wheeler's legacy will live on through a new foreman, Cody, a former rodeo star with a troubled past and a penchant for breaking rules. Kayce, who was once a man driven by instinct, will have to learn to lead like his father once did, but in a way that doesn't destroy him in the process. The Dutton women, the soul of the ranch. Monica will be given more agency in the spinoff, finally stepping out of the shadows to assert her voice. A professor once more, Monica begins teaching at a Native American community college and starts a preservation initiative for native lands threatened by corporate expansion. Her story will intersect with Kayce's, not as a side plot, but as a parallel struggle for identity, land, and future. Beth Dutton, though no longer a central figure, is rumored to make several appearances. Older, more reflective, and perhaps more vulnerable, she may serve as a warning to Tate and Monica about what happens when you choose vengeance over healing. And then there's Carter, the orphan Beth and Rip took in. Now a young man himself, Carter may find his way back to the ranch under Kayce's reluctant wing, still rough around the edges, still angry, but longing for belonging.